Hey everybody, welcome back. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys exactly what my hunting land plan is for the 20 acres of land that my wife and I just bought this past fall. Right now, or when we bought it, it was just a bare 20 acres in a really cool spot. And we're actually building a house on it, if you can believe that. So we're wrapping the house up right now. And as we get into spring, we're in the first part of March right now, I'm ready to hit the property improvements wide open. I'm going to be going through each improvement that I'm going to be making this year with you guys. And really there's three themes that I'm following for this parcel. Number one is getting high quality food on it. Number two is creating an environment where the deer are not disturbed. So low or no disturbance. I don't know if I can get to no disturbance, so I'll say low disturbance. And then having cover for the deer, and in that order. So it's the food, it's the seclusion and isolation for those deer to make them feel comfortable, and then the bedding cover. I've ranked them in that priority because to me those are the three most important aspects of this property, what's going to make it good, and in that order of priority. Alright you guys, so this is my 20 acres that my wife and I bought this past fall. Down here you can see we've got the road, and this red shaded area is where we're putting the house. Again, that's under construction right now. It's spring of 2022, and this is generally the footprint of the yard that we've got cleared out, and then our driveway. And I think it's important to know this is down here because this is a source of noise and disturbance and sensitivity, I guess, for the deer down in this area. Going with my theme of those three elements, the food, the seclusion, and the bedding cover, let's start with number one, the first and most important priority of getting food on the property. And you guys can see here that I've got the food plot labeled here and here. That's represented with the light green. And then we've got this purple band in through here that represents plot screen, and I've got that labeled too. And I'll talk about why I'm screening this. So this property sets up nice for a west predominant wind, which is the predominant wind in this area of the country that I live in. So with a west wind, we have this pine plantation over here. These pines are about 35 years old, and they're real open. There's really no undergrowth. There's almost zero woody regeneration, high bud density. There's almost none of that out here in this pine plantation. And so this is an area that I'm focusing on, and I actually have access to this pine plantation from the north, and that's represented with this dashed line, and we'll talk about these stand locations. But this is an area that I think on my property is going to have lower deer densities than down in my pocket cutting areas here. So my general theme with this property is down in this area I've got the pocket cuttings. Now I've got 3 of the 4 completed already. I need to complete this 4th one. But in general, I'm trying to get deer to bed down in these cutting areas. Right now, this whole area is just real heavy mature popples, and then there's a mixture of young birch and red oak and bur oak coming in underneath, but it's pretty open and pretty mature, this whole cutting area. You know, great big popples. They're actually perfect age for harvest, but I don't want to bring a logger in here and just flatten this woods. 20 acres isn't that much land, especially when you factor in a house down here and a road on one side. So, you know, I thought about bringing in a logger and even doing a select cut in here, but even a select cut, in my opinion, doesn't give you that edge and that precision ability that pocket cuttings do. And I made a video on pocket cuttings. I'll tag that video right here on as we talk. But these pocket cuttings that I've created are gonna place those deer exactly where I want them. I want them in a band in the middle part of the property right here. what that's going to do, it's creating all kinds of edge for these deer. If you look at the total perimeter of all these and add them up, it's pretty significant. It creates, you know, an explosion of young regrowth and daytime forage and daytime browse in all of these areas. Prime bedding habitat and daytime forage here, and creating little bed and breakfasts in my woods for the deer right here. And again, I've already got these 3 done and ready to go. So I'm placing these deer here during the daytime. This is where they're going to be bedding, and I expect them in the evenings to be filtering out of these bedding areas and into the food plot. Now, jumping back to the food plot, I've actually put a little tail on it right here, and that's by design, so that these deer that are bedding right here and here, I think they're going to gravitate towards this little tail and enter in this kind of secluded end of the food plot versus just charging out into the wide open. They're going to want to enter here and then work their way out into the larger food plot. You can see I've got a stand location right here and right here for west winds, southwest winds, and south winds. And just so everyone knows, up on this screen is north. So as we move over here, getting back to this purple band, the plot screen, I have to screen this plot because to the west here, this field, this is open right now, this field continues on to the west, onto my neighbor's land. And they're an elderly couple, they're retired, so they're not real active back here, which is nice. However, I still don't want to take the chance, and so I am screening this. And I want those deer to feel more comfortable coming out in here in daytime. You guys can see that I didn't just do a perimeter band of plot screen, but rather I'm running this one through the middle. I'm going to bisect this food plot. This is going to be about 2 acres of food when it's all said and done, approximately 1 acre in this cell and approximately 1 acre in this cell. And the reason I've split it is just, again, to make those deer feel even more comfortable, but most importantly, it's going to create a visual barrier and a visual block for deer that are, let's say they enter down here. If some other deer enter from the north, they're not going to be able to really see each other. If I can get this to grow thick enough, it's gonna make this food plot feel bigger and hunt bigger, because there will be more doe family groups that will be able to utilize this food plot when there's separation here. So I can have a doe and a fawn up here in this corner, and I can have some antlerless come out down here in this end, and they're gonna feel like they're not all on the same plot. It's just gonna create that layering effect that I'm looking for. And also when the rut rolls around and bucks are checking does or looking for does and scent checking, it's going to force that buck to be more intentional about walking through this food plot to visually lay eyes on any does that may be in each cell. This darker band right here are going to be planted spruce trees. So I've already got 200 spruce trees ordered right now. It sounds like a lot, it's not that many. I'm going to get those planted here this spring. I'm playing the long game on my spruce trees here. I want a permanent screen. The reason I like spruce trees are there's 2 main reasons. The first and foremost reason I like spruce is the deer will not browse these. At least in the part of the country where I'm at, they will not browse on spruce trees. That's probably the best part, so I don't have to butt cap them or fence them or anything like that. The other reason is because they provide side cover all the way down to the ground, even into their mature years. Red pine, like these over here, they start to drop their limbs, the lower limbs, as they mature, and you end up with just bare trunks down below. These spruce, not the case. I'm going to keep heavy, dense side cover all the way down to the ground down here. So long game here on these planted trees. This will take years to come to fruition, but then each year in the meantime, I'm just going to wrap it in plot screen so that I have that visual barrier from the neighbors. Yeah, so let's talk about some of my hunting stands and access. From where I'm putting the house and then where I'm placing the daytime bedding, I can't walk through here to get to my deer stands back in this area. Now, I was going to add a stand down here, and I may still do that on the south edge of the bedding areas. So with a northwest wind, a west wind, northeast, north, I can hunt the south side of this bedding in a morning sit, for example. I could just leave my house, walk through the backyard, back into the woods, and hunt this stand as those deer make their way back. Now, the other thing I should add here for you guys is further to the west, there's a great big alfalfa field over to the west. And so I'm expecting a lot of these deer to come out of my bedding areas, hit my food plot in the evening, and make their way out to the west to the great big alfalfa field. So I think this will be a viable morning sit spot as those deer come in from the alfalfa field to the west and then make their way back, filtering back through the woods to this daytime bedding area. So I am going to be looking for daytime morning hunt opportunities along here. I have not put a white dot on this design because I need to scout this land even more to verify where that best spot is. So I didn't want to arbitrarily throw a dot on here just for the video. I want to actually scout it, and then I'll update you guys with where that's going to go once I've had more time. Maybe it's a couple stands down here, so more to come there. But for the time being, I'm thinking this stand right here and this one right here are going to be my best afternoon sit type spots. You know, deer that are going to be leaving this bedding area and this bedding area, I'm expecting to funnel through and hit this tail of the food plot and work their way out. This stand right here is going to be a perfect setup with that southwest wind, south wind, and maybe I can get away with a west wind. We'll see. There is more bedding cover down here further to the southeast, so there's going to be more deer coming past than just right here. Now this stand right here and this stand right here is maybe a little bit of wishful thinking. I'm going to get in here this summer and see how these feel. If I think that this property is going to set up where these deer are entering the food plot, they're feeding, and then moving on to the larger ag field over here, I think I can get away with these stands. However, if I find that the deer are entering my food plots and just staying here and they're just dead ending in these locations, I'm not going to be able to get away with this stand or this stand. And the reason I say that is because I don't think I'll be able to get down from these stands at the end of the night without getting detected by the deer. And that's one thing I cannot do on this property, is if there's deer out in the food plot, I cannot get down from a stand and clear the plot and spook the deer off. So this one and this one, I'm hopefully optimistic on that my plot is actually a pass-through plot. If it becomes a final destination feed source, a destination feed source for the deer, I'm going to have to omit these stands and get them out of here and move them further back off the food. And that's a consideration for this stand as well. In the evenings, for example, or afternoons, if I walk down here, I can't be spooking deer or kicking them up out of their bedding back here. That's why this one, I'm going to have to really monitor things this fall. And if I think I can get away with getting into the stand in the afternoon and I'm not kicking up deer off of this ridge where I'm creating my precision pocket cuttings, I'm going to keep hunting it. It'll be perfect. They can get up, filter by me, enter the food plot. I can get a shot at anything that comes by. And then at the end of the night, at the end of the sit, I can get down, retrace my steps back out, and not spook any deer on the food plot. Again, if I get in here and I'm noticing that I'm kicking up deer, it's not going to work, and I'm going to have to move the stand further back so that I'm not spooking them out of their afternoon bedding area. Alright, you guys, well, I hope that was helpful, and you can use some of these concepts and ideas that I'm applying in my case on your land. You know, the other big part of this is creating a property where the deer feel safe. So, as I've said in my other videos, you know, we can put all the money and time and food plots in the world out there, but if we don't hunt them right, if we're spooking deer off that plot day in and day out, and every time we hunt, it's just not going to be a spot where deer feel comfortable. And that's the other big part of this design that I don't think can be overstated or overlooked. You know, my goal is going to be to only hunt this plot in conditions that allow so that the deer don't know they're being hunted. And that's going to be tough. It's a lot easier said than done, because I always have the urge to hunt. I want to get out there and I'm excited and I'm fired up, and you start getting pictures on the trail camera, and so that's something I'm going to have to really work through this year, is to really restrain myself and be really precise and judicious with the hunts that I pick back here. And the other element to think about it, in my case, maybe some of you have a similar situation, is we're going to have a house on this property. Now, for those of you that do own land, 20 acres isn't that much land. And when you block off, say a 5-acre-ish area for my house and yard, and we got young kids, and we're going to be having bonfires in the summertime in the evening. We're going to be grilling burgers and stuff on the grill and having friends over throughout the summer, and we're going to live our lives, and that comes with having a house on the property. So that's going to be the other part that I don't know exactly how that'll play out yet. I think I'm going to be able to work through it. I think I have enough buffer between my house and all the activity in the yard, with the food plots and the bedding areas in the back part of the property. But at the end of the day, I'm really excited to start making these improvements. I'm going to be getting dirt work guys in here this spring. I'm going to be picking out my food plot seed, my plot screen seed. I'm going to be planting trees, and I'm going to get a guy in here with an industrial tiller, and I'm going to start really renovating and changing the property, and I'm going to bring all of it to you guys in videos throughout the spring. I hope you'll join me in the journey, and I'd love to have you along the way. If you want, you can subscribe to my channel. I would love that, and I can bring you along in this journey, and hopefully I learned something from you guys too. I want to hear how your guys' projects are going, what your land designs are. So with that, look for those videos coming out in the future here, you guys. I appreciate you watching, and until next time, take care.